Let's talk about Kroll Monitoring. Of course, we're all speaking about identity theft. In today's conversation, the big question is Kroll Monitoring legit? And so here's an overview I want you to pay attention to. So when you think about identity monitoring in general, identity theft, you want to really pay attention to legitimacy. You want to pay attention to affordability, and most importantly, you want to think about scalability. In other words, can an identity theft service actually protect not only your account but also your family members' account? Okay, so when we have a conversation around Kroll monitoring, it's just because a lot of folks have been asking us for the last few months and weeks to actually do a review of this service to really see whether or not this is legit. Okay, so if you have received a data breach notice offering free monitoring from Kroll, you may be wondering what it is and whether or not it is legit, right? And the thing is that you have a lot of folks nowadays in this economy, especially during COVID, there have been a series of data breaches, and a lot of folks have seen their data actually being bought and sold in the dark web. And so this is really an important element to think about. Now, when you think about Kroll, Kroll is a corporate risk management and cybersecurity company that actually that is hired by companies and individuals who have suffered large-scale data breaches to help protect their customers. So there are, in some cases, some individuals who actually reach out to Kroll also in terms of identity theft. Okay, so this is what it is. And let me give you an example. Last year, when Michigan-based Flagstar Bank leaked the data of more than 800,000 customers, the bank offered 2 years of complimentary Kroll monitoring to all impacted customers as part of the bank's response plan. So the big question is, can you trust Kroll? Okay, so just because Kroll is a free option doesn't mean it's always right for you, because there are some cases where the bank is paying for it, the company is paying for it, but Kroll may not be the right partner when it comes to identity theft. And so by partnering with companies after they suffer data breaches, Kroll may offer fewer protective features than many other identity theft protection providers. Because see, the whole thing is when we talk about identity theft, you want to really be in the preventive aspect of things, not in the proactive, not in the defensive aspect of things. In other words, you want to be there before it happens, not after the data breach happens. But I will be really going deep in terms of the functionalities of Kroll. So after you suffer a data breach, and if you actually got offered a Kroll monitoring contract, you really need to have a clear idea about what's really included. Okay, so what's included? So what are the features here? What is included with Kroll monitoring? Kroll doesn't offer a single identity monitoring plan. Instead, every company that hires Kroll can pick and choose between multiple levels of service depending on their budget and needs. So that's really the granular part you really need to read. You got to read the fine prints, and sometimes you have to contact Kroll Monitoring to have a better idea of what kind of features and capabilities they actually offer you. So that means what? It means that different Kroll users may have completely different levels of protection. For example, some customers may receive one bureau credit monitoring, while others get three bureaus. Okay, it really depends upon the kind of pricing tier you have. If you are already signed up for a Kroll monitoring plan, you may need to contact the company and supply your membership number to determine exactly what level of protection you have. And I actually encourage you to do so, because this will clarify things for you so you have a clear idea where you are at. Okay. At a high level, most Kroll monitoring plans include some form of identity monitoring, credit monitoring, fraud consultations, and identity restoration. Okay. Now, let me really break it down for you. I want to go granular. I want to start with identity monitoring so you have a clear idea what I'm speaking about. And so Kroll actually states that it monitors the internet for PII associated with its users. So PII, we're speaking here about personally identifiable information. This is the kind of information you do not want to see in the dark web. You know, like when people actually sell and buy personal data from others, you do not want to see your PII there. So when we talk about PII, we're speaking about social security numbers, bank account numbers, and routing information. That's really, really, really high valued in the dark web. You have credit card and debit card numbers. You have medical ID numbers, contact information, including email addresses and the phone numbers. And you have birth dates. Okay, birth dates can be really a high value also. And this is not a comprehensive list of data points for identity theft monitoring, but it's better than no monitoring at all. However, Kroll doesn't provide many details about where it monitors for this information other than public records and sites known for illegal sales of PII, in other words, the dark web. So this makes it unclear as to whether or not Kroll provides in-depth dark web monitoring in our view here. So that was for identity monitoring. Now I want to talk to you about credit monitoring. Again, the big question here is that is Kroll monitoring legitimate? Because we want to clarify this question once and for all. Now, one thing for sure, when you think about Kroll as a valid identity theft monitoring, they do a good job in terms of credit monitoring. But the question is, they do not they do not offer the same protection across the board on a consistent basis. So credit monitoring, as you can really imagine, is an important part of any identity theft protection service, and because it can warn you if criminals have used your stolen identity to open accounts, take out loans in your name, or update and damage your credit file, which you do not want to have. This trifecta, you do not want to be in a situation where you have to deal with this trifecta: open accounts, take out loans in your name, or update and damage your credit file. By the way, when I speak about take out loans in your name, it can be take out loans, personal loans. It can be take out lines of credit, or even take out credit cards in your name. And so this is an important element. So while Kroll claims to offer a continuous credit monitoring service, it's really unclear what this means in practice. Remember that when we talk about credit monitoring, the ideal that you want to have, the preferred option here is to have a three bureau credit monitoring. Okay, there are three major credit bureau credit reporting bureaus: Experian, Equifax, and TransUnion, and not all lenders report to all three. This means that without three bureau credit monitoring, you could miss early warnings, signs of fraud, and this has happened a lot to a lot of consumers, especially during COVID. Okay, and so basically, you can proactively protect your credit with the credit freeze. By the way, this will prevent anyone, and I mean anyone, from accessing your credit file until you thaw it. In other words, you actually unlock it. And to freeze your credit, you will need to contact each of the three major credit bureaus individually. So you have to actually. That's why a lot of folks don't do it, because they think it's too much work. But this is work you want to have done anyway. You want to contact Experian individually. You want to contact Equifax individually, and you want to contact TransUnion individually, so that you know that you are covered anyway. And you gotta really do it. Another service that Kroll Monitoring actually offers is fraud consultation and identity restoration, and it's an important component when it comes to their business model. But the big question is Kroll Monitoring legitimate when they say that, they are offering fraud consultation and identity restoration? Well, the thing is, it really depends on the scenario. In case you become the victim of identity theft, Kroll's website advertises access to fraud consultants and licensed identity theft investigators to help you recover. So the thing is that Kroll actually has in-house teams, but also they outsource part of the work to third-party consultants who can really help you out. And one thing for sure, identity theft restoration services are especially important if you become a victim of identity theft. However, it's really unclear how Kroll can scale this type of one-on-one help to its hundreds of thousands or even millions of customers. Think about it. Because companies actually hire Kroll to actually offer identity restoration. And when we talk, I mean, you saw what I told you a little earlier about that Flex Star Bank. They had 800,000 customers, and now imagine multiple clients calling Kroll to kind of help them out. That's millions of customers. How does Kroll scale that? And it's important to really understand. And those are things that you need to really have a clear idea about. So in terms of legitimacy of Kroll, whether or not they are legitimate, we don't know for sure, but we're just asking questions because there are certain points that have to be clarified. What you want to do is you want to contact Kroll today. If they reach out to you, or you have been a victim of identity theft, and you realize that your bank, your company, your provider has actually hired Kroll to actually offer identity restoration, credit monitoring, or identity monitoring services, you want to ask them exactly what they do, especially when it comes to fraud consultation. You want to have a clear idea about what specifically they offer, so that you can clarify things on your end too, especially when you have a family, because that means it's not just you anymore, right? You have a lot of folks who are involved, and this could be problematic, especially if your family is not properly covered, is not properly protected. This can actually affect many areas of your normal life, especially when it comes to credit provision, when it comes to credit acquisition, loans, lines of credits, credit cards. Okay, I want to really go a little more granular when it comes to the kind of support that you can receive from Kroll's fraud consultation team. Remember, when we talk about when you have Kroll monitoring, you have three main types of services: identity monitoring, you have credit monitoring, and you have fraud consultation and identity restoration. And so I want to give you a few examples of the support you can receive from Kroll's fraud consultation team. Remember that their fraud consultation team, is composed of in-house experts, but also outside third-party experts. So when somebody gets back to you, don't think necessarily that this person is working for Kroll on a full-time basis, okay? And so the kind of support they actually provide, they will explain your rights and protections under the law. This is a very basic service that almost every identity theft protection service offers. In fact, the Federal Trade Commission, FTC, provides this service for free through its report fraudftc.gov website. They also help you with assistance with fraud alerts. So while fraud is often complex and elaborate, good fraud alerts are self-explanatory. So assisting users with fraud alerts may simply mean you are actually talking to the client, you are performing standard customer support tasks, and like every other identity theft protection company does, okay? It's all about what really is effective is the granularity, is the level of depth and breadth that the company goes in when it comes to explaining the extent to which it's willing to actually protect the customer. And Kroll's fraud consultation team can also help you understand how personal information is accessed and used. This could be useful depending on the amount of additional context Kroll can provide into users' activities. And this is an important element. So it's not really clear, though, after our investigation, how much data Kroll's fraud consultation team has access to and how much additional information they can provide at that level. Remember, as I said before, it's important to really look at granularity, the level of depth and breadth that you can get from Kroll's in terms of fraud consultation team. Also, they are able to investigate suspicious activity that could be tied to an identity theft event. This may be the most valuable service included in the fraud consultation package. Comprehensive investigations help identify the depth and severity of fraud attempts and allow users to plan their recovery process accordingly. And so this is really good. So the bottom line here is what? While Kroll offers a decent level of identity monitoring services, it cannot really offer the same level of support as the others, especially when it comes to the scalability. Because again, we are speaking about millions of customers, not just hundreds of thousands. We're speaking about millions of customers. Now, the question is, as I'm trying to really walk you through the legitimacy of Kroll monitoring, it's important to understand that there could be some risk of signing up for Kroll monitoring. One thing for sure, Kroll itself is a well-established company that has been around for nearly a century, so they really actually they have established their legitimacy. Not that's for sure. Okay, this is a legit company, and they actually support businesses with corporate security, risk consulting, and financial advisory. So basically, if as I said a little earlier, when a data breach occurs, companies actually hire them to actually restore their customers' identities. You, as an individual, you can also reach out to Kroll and you can pay them depending on how extensive you want their work to be. But it's expensive. It's really expensive. That's why only companies actually are able to do it. But we know in the past that some very high-level hedge fund managers, some high-level traders reached out to Kroll for help in terms of identity theft. So before signing up for Kroll ID monitoring, make sure you understand the risks, including past security issues, inconsistent access to customer support, varying degrees of protection, and lack of digital security tools. Basically, when we talk about past security issues, Kroll has been the target itself. Kroll itself has been the target of cyber attacks, including a 2023 data security incident that occurred after an employee fell victim to a SIM swapping attack, giving hackers access to the employee's phone number and company documents. You also have inconsistent access to customer support. So this is something that you really have to think about. If you go on Triple B, if you go on Trustpilot, if you go on Yelp, if you go on Google, Kroll actually has mixed reviews from customers. So this is an important element to take into account before signing up for Kroll. You also have diverse degrees of protection. So Kroll's business model allows the companies that engage their services to mix and match different features. Unfortunately, this means that some customers may be left with limited protection, especially when it comes to credit monitoring. And when we talk about lack of digital security tools, unlike modern identity theft protection services like Aura or LifeLock, for instance, or even Experian ID theft services, basically Kroll is purely focused on ID monitoring and support. This means that they can only help, as I said a little earlier, after your identity has already been stolen. So they don't do the preventive work, they do it afterwards. One thing I want to say here is that Kroll Monitoring is not your only option for identity protection. This is a very crowded field. You have a lot of players in this field. This is an important element to think about. And so whether or not Kroll Monitoring is legit or not, Kroll Monitoring is legit, that's for sure. But you have a lot of players that can actually offer a more direct, a more specific service, especially when it comes to scalability, okay? Protecting directly your family and yourself. So basically, what we have found is that the Kroll is an attractive option for people who have had their data leaked by a third-party organization because it is free and provided by the impacted company. However, the lack of publicly available details about Kroll services, as well as the inconsistent levels of protection and support, in our view, mean that the company might be providing not a complete sense of security. Because that means what? It means that they are leaving you vulnerable to fraud. Because again, they're not doing anything preventative. They're doing something defensive after it happened. So to protect your identity after a data breach, it may be worth paying for a dedicated service like LifeLock, for instance, Aura, for instance, Experian. You have TransUnion. You have Equifax. The main difference between Kroll and those services is who they work for. Because Kroll supports companies that have been impacted by data breaches, while the company I just gave you, LifeLock, Aura, and others, protects individuals and families who are worried about identity theft and online threats, right? So you have a clear idea about what really happens before it happens. And so you have monthly credit scores, one-click Experian Credit Lock, one-click TransUnion Credit Lock, one-click Equifax Credit Lock, financial account monitoring. You have a powerful antivirus, a military-grade VPN, virtual private network, and you also have safe browsing tools, secure password manager, AI-powered spam call and text blocker, enhanced online privacy, parental controls to block content, and limit time on apps and devices. So you have more comprehensive protection, especially when it comes to protecting your family and yourself. So here are our closing arguments to this conversation. I spoke to you about whether or not Kroll Monitoring is legit. I give you the overview, the features, and now the closing arguments. Thank you so much. God bless you. I'll see you next time. Until then, remember, stay marvelous.